Anyway, thank you for being here. And with that, I'm delighted to introduce Charles Brewer with Stur 22. Charles used to work here at SEC over on the main campus, and he started a veterans group for the first time at the college, which was sorely needed. So the college now has a program for people who have served their country in the armed forces, and I went to a couple of his events when he started them here. And so I'm delighted to hear about his new business. I hear lots of great things about it. I've got to get over there and try those wings evidently. With that,
on Thursdays.
take it away.
Travis is one of my regulars, so he always give me a good plug. So, thank you, Travis. I got your free wings today. Well, my name is Charles Brewer. Just a quick background about me. I was originally born in West Africa, Liberia. I came to the States when I was about 7 years old. I was raised in Texas, actually, Fort Worth, Dallas. And I made it to Nebraska on a football and basketball scholarship to Concordia University. And, one thing about Lincoln, or Nebraska in general, after a few years of being here, it kind of grows on you. So after I graduated, I stayed pretty much. And then I just went through a variety of different jobs, just really couldn't find anything that really was my passion. I had a business degree, and that's what I was looking for, anything in the business where I kind of, my goal was kind of to be like the CEO of this big company. And that never happened. But the thought was what mattered. So in 2010, I actually landed a job at Southeast Community College, which was a great job, and I was dealing with veterans. I created a veterans center, I created a veterans group, and I helped with the overall veterans benefits, which was amazing. But I needed to be challenged more. I needed more. Working just 8 to 5, which is good, and I needed more than that. I just felt like I was just kind of just stuck. So a while back, I went back home in 2010 also. I went back home to Dallas, Fort Worth, and my sister at that point in time lived in the middle of Dallas. Now, everybody know about Dallas. It's kind of like the nightlife city right there. There's a lot going on in regards to bars, restaurant, lounge, everything. You name it is there. So she was taking me all around downtown Dallas, and we're just having a good old time. And there was this one bar we stayed at for a few hours, maybe about 2 to 3 hours, was just there. Didn't pay any attention to the time, just having a good old time. So on our way back, me and my wife was talking about the bar that was there was called a Lime Bar. And we was like, wow, this is awesome. We need something like this in Lincoln. Granted, this is 2010. The Haymarket, Rail Yard, all those places wasn't really as developed like it was. So, what do we do about, running a bar, restaurants? She's a CPA and I worked at, SEC. I'm like, yeah, we don't know. We know numbers, but that's about as far as we go. So we put it off, but as the years went by, we still kept on talking about it. Still kept on sending each other pictures via email or text. Like if we had a lounge, this is what's going to be, because it was supposed to be a cocktail lounge originally. Where adults can come and just mingle, socialize, because, we have enough for college students, bars, restaurant lounges, whatever. We want to focus on the adults, And I was, I graduated about 4 years after, prior, so I was kind of like making that transition to adult stage, I guess. So I was kind of looking to socialize and mingle with grown folks similar to like me. So we kept on talking about it, sending each other pictures, and finally in 2012, I kind of made a decision. I'm like, I'm tired of talking about it. Let's make it happen. And she was all for it, and I was really surprised because I didn't think she was going to be all for it. But just being that you want to open something, you just can't have this idea that you want to open and you pretty much have to do your due diligence. So. I'm a visual person. I'm very hands-on. So to get the knowledge I think I needed, I pretty much worked about 3 to 5 years at bar. So they were all my part-time jobs. So I worked at Granite City for about a year and a half. I was a cook. And one thing I can say about Granite City, in regards to cleaning, their cleaning is top-notch. Because sometimes we're there 2 hours cleaning, and it's every day. So one thing I will say about Granite City, their food is good as well, but their cleaning in the back is really top notch. I guess that's one of the reasons why they have an open kitchen, because they want to show you that they're serious about it. After that, I was a bartender for about 2.5, 3 years. That was the fun part. Oh, bartending was so fun. It was so fun. I was at Aura Bar and Grill. Anybody familiar with Aura Bar and Grill at the Holiday Inn? And one cool thing I liked about Aura Bar and Grill, because it was really kind of like flexible. So they really didn't have a drink menu, so you kind of created your drink menu. And at that point in time, doing that 2 to 3 years I was there, that's when I kind of created my own cocktail menu also, which was really cool. Yeah, so that was a fun job. And then also I was a shift manager for Blink Fast Casual. It was a short-lived restaurant, but it was in the Haymarket, old bricks and stone area, and they was pretty much serving chicken salad. I thought it was a great concept, but the space, the location probably wasn't the best. You know, should have been more of a smaller fast casual. I did that for about 8 months, and I was a shift manager, kind of ran numbers and things like that. So I felt like within that 3 to 5 years, I got the hands-on experience that I needed to kind of feel comfortable about the restaurant industry. After that, you know, the next step was, you know, our original plan was to try to get investors. That was the original plan. So then I actually wrote a business plan. And it was a 20-page business plan. It was pretty much just writing everything on paper, pretty much everything that I had vision. Nowhere was food even mentioned. Nowhere was food even mentioned. The cocktail lounge, the grown folks, that's what I wanted. And that's what was gonna be the focus. And I wrote everything to the T, from the color, how I wanted it to be, how everything is gonna look, everything to the T, 20 pages. But it was pretty much me just writing my idea on paper. It was really just everywhere. So I actually reached out to a consultant who's familiar with the restaurant, who's very experienced and familiar with the restaurant industry, Ryan Palmer from Palmer Associates in Omaha. And this guy was one of the smartest guys I've ever met. But he was so smart, he was kind of weird a little bit, you know. And I kind of just looked at him sometimes, because he just go on this tantrum and just start talking and just like, and I'm just looking, I'm like, wow, you know. But very, very smart. So he pretty much told me he can revise my business plan, and he charged me. It wasn't cheap, that's for sure. It wasn't cheap, but when he got done with it, wow, I was very impressed. It was probably one of the best business plans I've ever read, from my projections to what I really wanted to get across, everything. So that's one thing I would say for sure. If you're looking to open your own business, make sure you have something outlined that you can follow, a business plan, or even something in writing that you can kind of give to someone and they can visualize, they can know what your real plan is. And make sure it's very detailed, make sure it's very precise. The business plan was very detailed, very precise. So after that, I'm like, okay, well, let's get investors. Didn't know the restaurant industry was really tough on getting investors. It's tough. So I applied for a variety of different places to try to get investors. I think there's a Nebraska Angel thing over there. Tried that. I was on the website. I posted my business plan. Nothing. Did another website where try to get some investors. Nothing. So, you know, luckily, me working 3 to 5 years on my side job, I had some money saved as well. So the plan was, well, I'm just gonna have to just look for a place and just find a place that's moving, ready, and open. So while I was doing that, looking for places, the Rock Island Social Club, which was originally, Henry's on the South. Anybody familiar with the old Henry's on the Great place? I used to go there a few times. But when it was Rock Island, it was kind of a wine lounge bar, which is almost like my concept that I wanted created. So I kept, and it's very small and intimate, which I love. So I kept on going there just to kind of hang out, pick his brain. His name was Andrew, pick his brain and whatnot, and just kind of get more consensus about the whole industry. And he was like, you know what? You know, I closed the kitchen, Charles, but you know, I know you're trying to do your lounge. Fast rewind actually. This is where the food concept came. While talking to Ryan, he was reading my bio and seeing that I was from West Africa, but also was reading further and saw that I didn't have anything in regards to food. So he was like, hey, I see on your bio you don't have anything for food. He was like, I was like, yeah, I don't. I want to make it a cocktail lounge. That's what I want. And he's like, nah, I think you got to do something with food. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do something. He's like, no, you got to. I'm like, I don't want to. Yeah. So he was like, you know what? I see that you're from West Africa. He's like, just do African food. No one really does it in Lincoln or Nebraska in general. There's not much of it, and I think you'll be very successful. African food. I'm like, an African lounge don't really sound appetizing to me. I'm sorry. He's like, no. He's like, you have the lounge aspect, but you still have the food, and that food is going to bring in people. Well, I mean, I'm like, okay, I'll do it. So we added it in the business plan. And then within another 3 to 5 year time frame, I worked with my mom. You know, I could cook a little bit. My mom could cook the world. She could cook anything and everything. So I worked with her in regards to creating my own cuisines and whatnot in regards to African focus. Now, where I'm from, Liberia, as you would know, Liberia is a big pot where we cook with a lot of different meats in it. You know, pork, fish, chicken, you name it, it's all going in the pot. In the States, you can't do that. People don't like pork touching their chicken. People don't like fish touching their pork, whatever the case is. So what I had to do was kind of modernize it to where maybe 1 or 2 different meats or vegetarian, whatever, was just going in that stew instead of like 5 to 6 different type of meats. Because in Liberia, that's why I'm so big right now. We like meat. We like a lot of meat. So I fine-tuned that to modernize the words, maybe more simpler, less meat options, and just easier to eat. But it still didn't sound right, an African lounge to me, you know, or a lounge serving African food. Because at that point in time, I didn't think no one knew truly what African food was. To me, it had a negative connotation about it. Because when you say African food, you think goat. And goat has a bad name, and goat is actually very good. It's a tough meat. You have to cook it for a while, but it's actually very good. And I didn't think people knew what really African food was. And I'm like, I'm not gonna make no money doing an African lounge. So what I did, I added Caribbean on it because everybody knows what Jamaican food is. Everybody been to, you know, Trinidad, Tobago. Everybody been to somewhere in the island where they're from Bahamas, where they're familiar with Cuba even, where they're familiar with that Caribbean lifestyle and that Caribbean food, from jerk chicken to things like that. I'm like, oh, that would definitely draw people because they know exactly what Caribbean food is. So for another 3 years, I self-taught myself how to cook Caribbean food. I do have friends that are Jamaican and they have restaurants in Kansas City. Once again, similar to what my mom did. They had a base that they introduced me, but then I kind of remixed it and make it my own, you know. So fast forward, you know, while looking for places, I was at Henry's on the South, which was Rock Island at that point in time, just kind of picking his brain, like, man, how'd you get this going? This is awesome. I love the vibe. And he's like, well, what I'm doing is I closed the kitchen and I'm kind of be leasing it out to people. You know, this is 2017 around October. He's like, why don't you come, since, you know, this is when I told him I was doing a lounge serving African Caribbean food. He's like, why don't you come bring your African Caribbean food and let's do something. And maybe, you know, I'll charge you a little small fee and you try to bring in people and, you know, we'll both make money that way. Okay, I can do that. So I created a small menu, very small menu, Caribbean of a variety of different African and Caribbean food. Text a couple. I didn't have Facebook at that time. This is 2017. I didn't have Facebook. Can you believe that? I'm old school. I'm a little old school. So text a couple of friends. Hey, I got this Caribbean African restaurant that I'm doing. It's a pop up. Come down to Rock Island and just enjoy, you know, some food or whatever the case is. And this is October. I don't know the exact date, but I think it was the middle or end of October, 2017. And so, which is still, it's getting cold. So that when we went, pretty much, I had a couple of people. I had one of my guys, a good friend of mine, helping me because I'm familiar with the kitchen, but I wasn't quite familiar with the kitchen like that to that extent. So he had his own catering business, so he volunteered to help me. And as soon as we opened the door, there was a line out the door, and I was like, I only told a couple of people. Like, who did these couple of people telling? And within a 2-hour time frame, ran out of food completely. Yes, and I thought I made a pretty decent amount. Ran out of food and made a substantial amount of money. So I was like, okay. I didn't believe myself, so I did it again in December. So made food, way more food this time. Told those people to tell a couple of people, and even told them to put it on their Facebook. This is December now. You know it's cold in December. Ran out of food 2 hours later again. I'm like, okay. I still didn't believe myself. Still was in doubt. So I did it in middle of January, which is the coldest ever in Nebraska. And same situation. Two hours later, ran out of food. I'm like, I think I might have something here. So at that point in time, Andrew kind of saw that, you know, he also saw that I had something here, and there was also a person. Her name was Katie. She's a small business bank, like director or something along those lines. And she came to a couple of my pop-ups. She loved the food, and she was like, "Charles, you got something here." And I'm like, "Okay, thank you. You know, she's like, "Are you trying to get investors? Are you trying to get a loan?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm actually trying to get investors." She's like, "Well, we don't do investors, but we can definitely offer you a loan. Do you have a business plan?" I sure do have a business plan. You know, she's like, "Well, why don't you send it to me, and then we'll read it, and I'll talk to my other higher ups, and we can go from there." You know, as I stated, the business plan was amazing, and the projections, everything made sense to them. They loved it, and they were like, "Okay, well, here's a check, right on the spot." So I had a check of X amount of money, and I'm like, "Okay, I don't have no space yet." So went back to Andrew, just talking like, "Hey man, I got this money and I don't know what to do. I can't find a space. I wanted to be in downtown. I can't afford downtown. I want to be in the Haymarket. I can't afford that. I don't know what to do." And he was like, "Well, you know what, man? I've been in doing this for a while, man. I think I might be done with it." "Oh, really?" He's like, yeah, man. He's like, "We can work something out where you can take over. You know, the kitchen is always moving ready. You're kind of familiar with it already. People are kind of familiar with this place, being that you kind of did the pop over here. Let's make this transition." And within a 3-month time frame, that happened. So then here comes Stur 22. That's where Stur 22 was created. Yeah. Long story short.
Tell us about the name Stur 22.
Okay, Stur 22. Okay, so the name came from, as I stated, you know, when you cook African food, it's a big pot, a lot of different spices, a lot of different meats. So to constantly get it to cook quicker, you constantly got to stir it. You know, and it's a big heavy pot. It's like this big. So when I was little, about 10, 11, 12 years old, my mom had me do that all the time. And sometimes I'd be stirring the pot for 2 hours, you know, because she didn't want to do it, so she had me do it, you know, and I hated doing it too. So to kind of make the time go faster, I used to count in circular motion how many times it takes me to stir the pot until she tells me to stop. And guess what the number was? 22 times. Now, if you notice, the stir doesn't have an I, it has a U in it. It's still pronounced the same way. You know, some people try to pronounce it like, "No, that's not the way it goes." It's still pronounced the same way. But my mom had so much of a thick accent, so when she was saying stir the pot, it sounded like she was saying kind of stir the pot. So I put that U in there because the African side is pretty much all her ingredients with just a few twists to it. So I put the U in there that represents her pretty much. So that's where Stur 22 came from. Yes?
You were prepared with the business plan, so then did you start a marketing plan?
No, I wasn't. I mean, I included a little bit of marketing into the business plan, but it wasn't to that extent. I think the main thing was just to look for investors, to try to get them to buy into it, and then from there expand from there. But because the original plan was to be in the Haymarket or O Street, but you know, with the capital that I wanted and I was realistic. I knew what I could afford and I knew what I couldn't afford, and I knew what my budget was, and I knew everything to the T. I knew what I wanted, and realistically, the Haymarket or O Street was not realistic for me at that point in time. So I had to look for a place on the outskirts, and that's how Rock Island popped up. And you know, Rock Island is kind of a little bit of a hidden area, and the rent was very reasonable, and I jumped on it right away.
So do you think that location is good for you now, or do you still long to get down in the Haymarket?
Well, I am looking to expand. I will say that. The location has done good for me. You know, partly because I think the food brings people in. The food and the atmosphere, everything brings people in. So even though a lot of people say location, yes, location is an important thing, but if you have a great concept and people love it, I truly think people will come.
So are you going to try to, you said before that you associated adults, you separated adults from the
Yes.
college crowd.
Yes.
So do you think that the college crowd, if offered down in the Haymarket, would go for your cuisine?
You know what? I think yes. I do get a few few selected college students come there. I have a few selected regulars. You know, but once again, I think being on the outskirts helped with that adult focus because not that much adults wanted to like to go to the Haymarket or the O Street
Yeah.
because of parking and everything that's involved to it. So being on the outskirts really helped focus on that truly adult. So I created a great clientele with adults. But then again, I do have a few students that do come there, and they love the food, they love my atmosphere, and they hang out too as well. So
I've seen you have great ads in the Chronicle, the
Yes.
Neighborhood Association, which they have a fabulous magazine now.
Yes.
It comes out monthly, and you have a presence in there, and
Yes.
is that drawing a good crowd?
Yes, the country club area is very, very supportive, very supportive. They have brought me to a few of their meetings, and they're like, Charles, you got to give us brochures, you got to give us stuff. We have this information that we pass out to everyone, and you got to do this. And they come and do events there. Very, very supportive area. So that's one of the reasons why I'm very happy to be in that area, because they truly support.
How have your special events gone over? Do you close the parking lot and have music yet?
Yes, well, not. I was planning. We just hit our third year, August 3rd. I was planning to close it and have a outdoor event. Due to timing and a few other things that's coming up here, I'm like, nah, I can't do that. It's just too much on my plate right now. So actually what I did, I actually closed one day and just did it like an employee appreciation. We went bowling and hung out and whatnot to kind of make it a third year. But probably next year or maybe our fifth year, we'll probably do where we close the parking lot. Sorry.
Yeah, more of a comment, Lincoln Select Real Estate did a featured video on your
Yes.
restaurant. They did a
Yes.
beautiful job on that.
They did a real good job,
Yeah,
and
they did a real deal.
I think we had like 5,000 hits like within a few hours.
Yeah.
It
How'd
was
you get
crazy.
that opportunity?
Well, Homegrown is their smaller business that they do just like Lincoln Real Estate.
Okay.
So they created this to really focus on small local business. And what they wanted people that's small local that's really doing the hands-on. So for restaurants, they wanted people the owners that's in the kitchen putting in the work. So they've actually been in a few different restaurants, small local, and they showcase that, which I think is a good thing, because sometimes small companies do go not unnoticed. So when they came out to me, they did Fly Dogs. If anyone familiar with Fly Dogs, they just did Unbewingable and a few different places, and I think that really increased advertising for us. And it was like that week. It was a great week for me.
I didn't know about you guys until that came out, and then I
Yeah.
thought, wow, I gotta go to that place.
Yeah, and they really helped out. So we truly appreciate what they did for us. Yes.
I think your location is great because there's really nothing in that area,
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, you got a pizza place here, you got the Dairy Queen down there.
Yes.
But to come and sit and eat and do that, I think it's a great location.
Yes.
And you might check with Shelley Pleskotch over there at Dairy Queen, because they do a customer appreciation every year in the parking lot.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
It sounds like you lucked out with your location because it had already had an established
Yes.
thing there,
Yes.
and so people already knew about it. Location, like finding the right location, I think it's a bigger deal when it's not already established.
Yes.
It can be really difficult to get established, but
To a certain extent, I agree with you. Yes, but the first thing it was a French bistro at first. It closed down for like 2 years. Then it became
What was
a.
it before that? Because for years there was a restaurant.
You know what?
Tiger training.
There's
It was a
no Tiger Training was on the other side. It's been a restaurant the whole time, but it's just been a lot of different restaurants. I think prior to Henry's on the South was Cafe Italia, and that was an Italian guy that ran, and I think that ran for about maybe 4 or 5 years. Prior to that, I'm not sure. I've heard Red Rooster was one of them.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Red Rooster, I think they say that's the guy that used to work at Lee's Chicken.
Yeah.
And they took their ingredients and kind of created his own.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I heard there was another one also. They all this was downstairs, but they still had the top two also. But the main restaurant was downstairs. There was another one prior to that where it was like 4 couples, 2 couples, and they ran it. I forgot the name of what it's called, but they had a restaurant going to as well. So it's been several different names. Yes, but I will agree, location is a big deal. Location is a big deal, but however, like I said, it was a French bistro which closed for 2 years, and then it became a wine bar, which didn't have no food at all, just focused on wine and cocktails. So when I came in, it was pretty much all new concept coming in. Granted, the fixture was already there, the hood and all that, but it was an all new concept. Secondly, it was I got an African Caribbean concept. There's really, to my research, in Nebraska or in Lincoln or Nebraska, there's really no true African Caribbean. You might catch an African here or you might catch a Caribbean here, but there's no together African Caribbean, which was very unique because you don't see much people doing African Caribbean together. So that became an issue too because the awareness, And another issue that I saw because a lot of people, on the weekdays, it's a struggle. It's a struggle, and I think that's for every restaurant. But when you have a unique food, it's meant to be a weekend type of food. It's time to venture out. So date night or whatever the case is. So that weekday is from a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to try to get people to come in. That was the issue. So that's why the wing night came in on Thursdays. That's why we have Taco Tuesdays. And that's why we have date night on Wednesdays where it's like a 3-course meal you can get for like $45. So we had to throw those special ins to kind of draw more crowd. But then on the weekends, everybody want to eat, because it's kind of time to venture with the family, your friends, date, or whatever the case is. So, I will agree with you. Location is a big deal. And having a place that's moving ready, very helpful. Very helpful. Because I realistically couldn't see myself spending $250,000, $300,000 to build out a place. I just didn't see it. I can't see it.
Investors can't see it either. They don't want to invest.
Exactly.
So what's your pricing? Where are you?
Price point wise?
Yeah.
I think I'm about average. Sometimes I think I'm a bit low in regards to some of the things I'm selling. I mean, we're in the Midwest, and things like oxtail, goat, very hard to come by. I mean, right now I'm struggling. Yes. I'm struggling because I have to go through a middleman to get this, and these is $7 a pound, $8 a pound. They're very high end meat, but the way I make it a stew base, so it kind of helps too because it kind of spreads out a little bit. It's not just pretty much, I'm just giving you oxtail, I'm giving you a stew. So I got some fillers in there, carrots and things of that nature, so it's not just, the price point it's good because I'm spreading the food out more, and that's one of the concept, which was a plus because I'm like, well, I don't want to make a stew. I just don't want to make it like, I'm just giving you this. So this, stew, and then you get a rice, you get a side. I think, the price point we're between $14 to $18. Yeah.
You said Thursday is wing night?
Yes.
Okay, so tonight's wing night.
Tonight is Thursday.
Tonight is wing night. If I come to your place tonight and have wings,
Yes.
I've heard that you've got great cocktails. You
Yes.
said you made your own menu. What's your signature cocktail that somebody should try the first?
There's 3 signatures, which everyone has our own. Well, the signatures are what are created, but then there's a couple that we put a spin to it. So the African Paradise is the #1 drink. That drink is probably one of the best drinks I've ever had. Like when I drink it too, I keep like, I'm still shocked I made this drink. But what it is muddled cantaloupe, honeydew, and strawberry. We muddle that, and then we put some orange juice in it, Malibu rum, and peach knob. And it's so simple, but it's so good. And everything we do in a big glass. We try to make it similar to like if you go to the Caribbean, to give you all these big long glasses and their fruity cocktails. We try to make it like that. So it is a bit sweet. It's not really too sweet, but it is a bit sweet. But it's all amazing. The second one is the mojito. We actually have a variety of different mojitos, and what we do, we put a little spin to it. Usually most mojitos have club soda at the end. We use Sprite. Sprite makes it more sweeter, more bubbly, more flavor in that. So mojito, and then the third one will be the Caribbean Escape. That one is the hardest one to make. That's like 8 different ingredients going there. So it might take a while to make, but it's still worth it though. It's really good. It's really good.
So how much is an African Paradise?
Everything is in the $9 range, and we got a cocktail. And it's pretty much like a 16-ounce glass you're getting. So almost like a pint.
So are you making money on it, or are you hoping that, where do you make your money?
Well, being that it's so
best money
new, I really wanted to be really conservative and really introduce people, and I'm gradually increasing my price, but I'm not increasing it where I'm just like, we're still making money because the cocktails do make our money. You know, we're still putting the standard 1.5 to 2 ounce in there. You know, but we just put other juices and stuff like that. And juices are pennies to $1. Yeah, it's not really not making me. It's making me money. And to make a long story short, yeah, it's just not the big money at the end of each month, but it's making money to where I can put a little in the savings, pay off bills, pay myself, and pay off the employees and whatnot. As long as I'm doing that, you know, Lincoln is a place where you have to grow. It's not automatic like a big city. It's not automatic where you open something and you probably get 10,000 new customers within a short period of time. Lincoln is about, you make your money off regulars. And that's truly how it is in Lincoln, you know, and our regular clientele is building up more, our nightlife is building up, so everything is really on the upwards. It's just a slow process.
Do you have beer?
One more question.
Do you have beer, and do you get it from the local, like White Elm or somebody?
I don't do. I do go to the beer distributors, which is 3 of them here, and that's where I get them. I don't do. I have one kegerator, so most of these people have to bring in kegs, and I'm a cocktail lounge, so I try not to focus on too much keg beer. I do have a lot of bottled beer, and I do have like local, like Zipline. I am reaching out to a few of them, but once again, they don't do really bottles too much. So that's one of the issues. So I can't really provide them because I don't have space for a big keg like that, you know. And honestly, that's not what I really want to focus on too much, really. So.
Sometimes it takes that to get the husband to go with the wife to trade.
That's true. That's true. You're right on that. Yeah, and that's why we do have a great selection of bottled beer, you know, from domestic to imports too as well. We have a couple of Jamaican beer. We definitely have a lot of Latin beer or Mexican beer, like, you know, Corona and things like that, and which people love. So.
All right, well, unfortunately, we're out of time.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
As a thank you, we'd like to present you with a Focus Suite mug.
Oh, okay.
And you'll have to come up with a cocktail that you can mix.
I can do that, no worries.
All right.
Thank you so much, y'all. I appreciate
You
it.
bet. Thank you all for coming. Hope to see you next week. Again, come next week for coffee at 10 and listen to the story of Muchachos, and then stay for lunch afterwards. He'll be serving out in the parking lot until the food runs out. So anyway, I hope to see you next week. Thanks for coming. And there's no need to run off. Hang around as long as you want. Talk to Charles unless he has to run off.
No, I'm here.
But thanks for coming. Charles, thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And what I will do